ready to learn some things about how to sponsor people? 6 of you, that's great. So the audience will be much bigger next time. Got your pens and paper ready? So ladies, you've sponsored a lot of people in a short period of time. Sarah, you joined us in September, I think. How many people have you sponsored since you got started?
25.
25 people since September.
Yeah.
And remind me, your background is something to do with the NHS. I met you briefly. Yeah. What do you do?
It. So I'm a paediatrician. I'm a children's doctor, and I work in intensive care.
Okay. That must be a challenging role, working in intensive care with children.
Yeah, it is, but it's a fantastic job. I love my job. I do most of my work is on the ward, and then I do some work for a retrieval service as well, moving sick children into intensive care when they need it. Yeah.
So how did you even find the time or the motivation to want to start your own business on the side?
Motivation is easy. I'm always a bit skint, so that's a fantastic motivator. In fact, I think...
So let me stop you right there for a second.
Right.
Even that in itself is an interesting statement, isn't it? Because I don't know about you, I would have thought most doctors in that position wouldn't be skint. I might not even put them on my who do you know list. Would that be fair? So message 1 from Sarah straight away is never prejudge anybody. Put them on your list. You have no way of knowing what their circumstances might be. Even on the outside, you might assume that they're doing really, really well and wouldn't be interested in another business opportunity. Sarah is living proof that that's not the case. Sorry to interrupt you.
Yeah, no, definitely. In fact, I think if I think about it, I've worked really hard for 20 years and I am a little bit broke at the end of every month. So this really, Rob Murray is my sponsor who talked to me, and he just dropped this in my lap just at the right time.
How did you know Rob? Did you know?
Well, actually, I kind of knew Rob from work. He used to work as a medical rep, dealing with plastic bodies. So before he did the business full time, that's how I knew Rob. I didn't actually know him that well, and I do know for a fact that I was on his chicken list of one of those people that he didn't want to talk to.
So you were on his who do you know list, and for the benefit of the brand new people, the chicken list part of that is the people that you're really scared of talking to. So well done to Rob. Where is he? I've seen him out there somewhere. Well done, mate.
There
Excellent.
he is. Yeah. Thank you, Rob.
Okay, let's find out a little bit about Danielle first then. Your background is?
Health and social care, so 12 years in that industry.
Yeah.
Loved it, but for those of you that are in that industry, you'll know the shift patterns are horrendous. I had a 3-year-old and a 7-year-old at the time when I joined Forever 4.5 years ago, and just juggling everything were just getting increasingly harder as the school and concerts I could never attend, stay-in plays, sports days, that sort of thing. So as the kids were getting older and realising that I weren't there more, they played on the heartstrings quite a bit, so I had to look for something else. So that's when I stumbled across Forever.
And backstage you were telling me that prior to Forever you'd never recruited anybody in your life before, and even in the early times in Forever that was something that really scared you.
Now, you wouldn't think it. I mean, to be honest, the recruitment side of the business is my favourite side of the business now. But when I first started, I mean, obviously, like Bob said, 12 years looking after people, there was no recruitment in that at all. No. But then coming into Forever and all the activities that we have to do to recruit, I knew from day one that I wanted to have a team. I just were really nervous about getting to that point, doing the activity and recruiting people. So shaking, putting cards through letterboxes, it took me 2 years in the business before I would approach anybody for contact marketing or anything like that. I wouldn't do it. I refuse point blank. No, Juliana, I am not doing that. No way. I can't do it. There's no point. I'll just stick to what what I feel I'm good at. But now it's because I want, obviously the goals were bigger, as I went through the marketing plan. You put all that to one side, your goals are bigger than the fear of doing it, and it's so true. So now it's become a lifestyle for me. So I suppose my message to you guys is, if I can get over the fear of putting a card through a letterbox, or the fear of speaking to, you know, a mum with a pushchair, or, you know, somebody in a nice suit, to see if the business opportunity would be for them, then I'm absolutely positive that you guys can do it as well. Yeah.
There's a few important messages there. The fact that you're like 2 years in and never really sponsored anybody. You know, I think one of the important aspects of our business when we're building a team is that we always need to make people feel as if they're still part of our community, still involved, because it does take courage to talk to somebody, even whether you know them or whether you don't know them. And I think often people feel alienated before they get to that point, and I think keeping that community in your team is really important, because as you just quite rightly said, when the goal gets big enough, then the courage comes with it, and you do make that transition then into something that eventually becomes much more comfortable, but to start off with it's really uncomfortable. So you've been a relatively short period of time, you've been much longer. How important is recruitment in your eyes?
Do you want to go first?
Shall I go first? For me, I could see it as the bedrock of your business. I think a lot of people here are probably natural retailers. I'm really good at that side of things, and I'm still not fantastic at that, but I'm trying to get a little bit better. I'm listening to everything Paul tells me. So for me, leading with the business is a really good way of doing it, because most of my team are people like me, doctors, surgeons, anaesthetists. So to lead with a business that could be potentially fantastic is a really good way of talking to those people. And like I said, I'm getting a little bit better at the retail the more I do.
Yeah, I think that's a really important point, you know, leading with the business, because then you have always got, you know, the retail and the products to fall back on, because granted, you know, the business is not for everybody, but who are we to make that decision? So I always think in my head, ask what's the worst that can happen. You know, they become a customer, or, you know, that they have a look at an experience pack or the products, which is a win-win for us. So for those of you that are really nervous and anxious about getting rejected, you know, or getting the no's, it's part and parcel, and just flip it on its head. It doesn't have to be rejection. It's just, you know, you're steering them in another direction. The importance of recruiting for me, I would say it's as important as whatever your goals are. So, you know, if you just wanted to earn £200 a month and move the products, you know, retail the products, share the amazing products that we have with your friends and family, and benefit from having the 35% discount yourself, then recruitment's not important at all. But if your goal is supervisor, assistant manager, manager, if your goal is to take advantage of what this business has to offer and the amazing opportunity and potential that you could create for you and your family and your life in the future, then it's absolutely imperative that you go out there and share this business opportunity with as many people as possible.
People talk about what's called the churn in our business, where, you know, there'll always be a percentage of people who get involved with us, and for whatever reason it doesn't happen for them. They fall by the wayside. And the important thing about, I think, any business is that it never remains static. If you were running a conventional business, you would still be needing to look for new customers all the time, because you'd be losing customers at some point. And so, you know, our business is not that different in that sense. You made a really valid point, though, about, you know, one of the challenges of our business is the fact that when somebody says no to us, it can be rather more personal than perhaps in another environment. If the three of us opened a shop, for example, and we were selling clothes, and some people came in the shop and tried some clothes on and they didn't buy, you know, we wouldn't throw ourselves on the floor crying. That would be pretty normal, wouldn't it?
I use that example with my team all the time.
But when it's like one-to-one, it can be very much more...
There'd be no chains of retailers. I always say, you know, the guy or the woman who set up River Island, for instance, you know, just using it, they stood behind their first counter in their first shop, watched all the people come into their shops, pick up their products, touch their products, try their products on, throw them on the floor, walk out without buying anything. If they didn't or if they took that as personal,
they'd never have gone
you know,
anywhere.
there wouldn't be a chain of River Island stores up and down the country. So
it is this thing of saying, you know, it's not life-threatening.
No.
I need to get over it. I need to detach myself. One of the best books I think that Barry has on his stand out there in this particular area is that Go for No book, where you know they're actually encouraging you to get some no's because that is part of the process.
the person who gets the most no's wins.
That's
so they
often the
say.
case. And the next no can lead you to closer to the next yes, because before you speak to somebody, you have no way of knowing whether they're going to say yes or no. It is about getting that courage. So tell me, what ways do you go about finding your new team members?
So far, everybody I've got is on my Who Do I Know list.
Okay.
So I haven't tried any other of the methods. I just talk to people that I know. Some of them are friends or people that I haven't seen for a little while, but most of them are the people that I'm in and around and working with. So I do some calls, but actually I do a lot of messages. I found when I phoned people initially, if they weren't people that I usually spoke to on the phone, they got quite worried.
Yeah,
They thought
why
there was
are you
a
ringing
problem,
me?
that's it, or a bit of a disaster. So I found if I just floated some either WhatsApp or Facebook messages or texts, and then most of them will get back to me, okay, what is it? And then I'll organise a meeting from there. Yeah. So it's all my warm list.
And I know that sometimes people are concerned that they'll run out of warm list, but the reality is you can be building that all the time, can't you?
You won't, but actually that's one thing that Paul Brown has really taught me and really instilled in me, is that you have to work on your list every single day. Even if it's only 10 minutes, you have to work on it. So I mean, mine isn't massive, but it's 2,500 names, and that's really since about December that I've worked on it.
2,500 names on her Who Do You Know list.
No, well,
that is worth a round of applause.
But what Paul said to me, which irritatingly everything that he said has come true.
He can be irritating at times.
I know.
He's here, look careful what you're saying.
Where is he? There he is. It's beyond irritating, but I've given up
joking.
being irritated now. But actually what he said to me is if you get to about 1,500 names on your list, your mindset will change, and all of a sudden everybody will say no, will say yes. And that's exactly what happened.
Yeah.
I went from speaking to, say, 10 people and a few people wanting to hear, to speaking to 10 and 8 wanting to hear about the business. Yeah. And I think it really was that change in mindset. I've got so many names here, I don't really mind if they say yes or no.
If some say no, I think it's really important. And sometimes I hear people say, oh, I in network marketing, I fell out with all my friends. And I think, how can that be? That can only be if you've got 10 people on your list and you're phoning the same 10 all the time.
Yeah,
because
that gets slightly irritating.
The way I look at this, I think there's 64 million people in the UK and there's 5 million in Ireland. That's nearly 70 million people. And when I look through the first steps to manager booklet, it goes find 20 or 30 customers. I'm thinking 75 million people, 30 customers. I don't need to be hassling my granny here. There's loads of people I can be talking. And the same with your team.
I did really mess up at the start though. Ian Murray is here as well. Daddy Murray's here. And I sat by him in a BP, really smug, and I'd only been in the business maybe a couple of months at most. And I was like, I've got my 5 people. And he was like, no.
5.
Yeah, I've got the 5. And he said, you do realise your first 5 are not going to be your 5 key people. I was like, I thought I'd done it. I thought I'd got my 5 key people, 5 people in. Yeah, so that was a bit of a kick up the bum. Yeah.
And people will find their own level, I think, and that's why it's really important to continue that process of sponsoring. It's easy to get a few people and think, right, I've arrived, I'll stop sponsoring now, and I'll just look after these, and you've no way of knowing what will happen to them. So it is that thing. Danielle, how do you find people?
Everywhere, really. So obviously at the start it was my Who Do You Know list, my warm list, the people that were in my network, and not necessarily people that I didn't have a massive network. I had quite a small. I didn't have 2,500 people in my network. I probably had about 200 on Facebook. I didn't have Instagram at the time. I kept my my immediate network close and a few people. I was a bit of an introvert, I suppose. I just liked my own space, liked the few people that I knocked about with, and mainly family, to be honest. But I quickly learned that you get paid for making friends.
Yeah.
So that's what I went out and I did. So I started to build relationships, making friends. And I've always had the bigger picture in mind. I've never, even though I am a really, really impatient person, and it used to frustrate the living daylights out of me at the beginning. Why is everybody not doing this business? This is ridiculous. This is amazing.
What's wrong with them?
Why are you? What do you mean no? It used to stress me out. But I always thought, well, okay, I was told if it's a no, it's not a no forever. It's a no for now. So I would just go boom, 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 next, more friends. So I go through networking, I go to networking events. Obviously now I contact market. I'm constantly speaking to new people online. We do a lot of our networking online now.
Yeah.
So I'm always building relationships on there. And I genuinely enjoy being around new people now. And obviously when you get to stages within the business where you have seen what this business has not only done for you, but what it's done for the people that you've introduced to the business, that's when the magic happens. And that's when you sit back and you think, I'm actually helping others now. How can I not meet more people?
Absolutely.
How can I not share with more people this amazing opportunity?
In the sense then that it's not just about you, it's about their goals and their ambitions. It's interesting you say that you are an introverted person with only a few friends, and you've made that transition, and that's takes a lot of courage and bravery again.
Yeah, it's a big. That's probably, and it's one of the selling points that I use within my presentations to people, is the personal development. I remember 4 months into the business, and my husband said to me, it's like I've married a different woman. Like, where the hell has this positivity come from? The personal development that we get within Forever, from the trainings, from the people that, that we spend a lot of time with, some of the most amazing friends that I would never have even met, people from all up and down the country, from around the world, that I class now as my closest friends, nearest and dearest, and I would never even met these people. They're not on my doorstep, majority of them, they're
scattered everywhere.
Yeah, absolutely. So, that personal development is a massive thing, and I think having those people that you meet within Forever, they've got your back, at all times. It picks you up and it helps you be a more confident person. So
this building relationships point is also really important. You've no way of knowing when the timing is going to be right for the person that you're talking to, and I think it's sometimes in the early days you can get sort of overexcited about the potential, as you say, get very frustrated when that person can't see the potential, and sometimes you can damage the building of that relationship that way, whereas if you can just be more relaxed and not look for an agenda, because you hear so many stories, there's tons in the audience of people sometimes have been talking to a particular person for 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 years before they join their business. If they'd have alienated themselves from that person right at the start, they'd have never got that 7 years of conversation.
Never burn a bridge. Never burn a bridge.
Never burn a bridge. And also, even if they never join your business, my experience is you never know where they may recommend you. If they're confident about you and the relationship you have with them, if they hear about somebody who wants a business opportunity, they go, you know what, I've got a friend Sarah who does that, or Danielle does that, and you get that reference. So one final question, because we're going to spend a bit of time wandering around the audience too. Tell me, how do you structure your week so you find enough time for recruitment? Because again, my observation sometimes is, because recruitment is perhaps the thing that needs the most courage, we're less likely to do it if we could do something that's more comfortable. So how do you discipline yourself that way?
I'm probably not fantastic at planning, actually. Just hearing about some people that say about planning your week out. I think I just try and make it fit around work.
Yeah.
So my best week that I had was, it was half term, so the kids were off school. There was people sick at work, so I actually worked 4 24-hour shifts, so I did 100 hours that week, and I sponsored 7 people. I think in the 10 days I got 8 people.
That is amazing.
You're like Wonder Woman.
Yeah, and in that month I got 12 people, which was half of my MPIP3 PIN. But I think that was just get my head down, focus, and just literally fit it around pockets of time.
So I'll just work a 100-hour shift and sponsor 7 people in between. Okay, simple then, eh?
That's
That's
amazing.
unbelievable.
I must work well to deadlines, I think. And actually, it was Paul as well that got me going a little bit, because I was thinking I'd try and get the yellow suitcase over a few months of this year. And Paul had just said to me, well, why don't you just do it now? Just do it in the next couple of weeks.
We made it too easy, didn't we, say in 12 months? We should have said like 12 minutes for you or something.
I kind of just thought I'd see where I could get to.
Incredible.
So I really sort of put my head down. In fact, I'll tell you another person that I saw at one of the success days. I think it was the December one. I went to China for a week with work. I came straight back from a flight here to watch Paul going Diamond Manager, and I think Claire came up and got her yellow suitcase. And then I think the next success day in January, she was one of the top 20 businesses here, and I really thought, you know what, that's an important incentive. If she's done that and then she's top 20, that's what I need to do to build a business. Yeah.
Danielle, do you have a particular system you work every week in terms of finding time for recruitment?
Well, I do my 7-day plan. I mean, recruitment for me is the lifeblood of the business, and it's my most favourite part of the business. So I do it, you know, without planning anyway, if I was to say that. But the kids are at school full time. I have my working hours, you know, but forever to me is a lifestyle, so I don't stress myself out too much with deadlines and times and stuff like that, unless I've got a really big goal that I'm working towards. Then I have to work a little bit harder, but it's given me kind of what I've wanted, you know, from it in the first place. I quit my job, you know, I work from home, I'm there to take the kids to school and pick the kids up, so I don't do anything before I've took the kids to school in the morning, but I went to QLS Recruiting Mastery last week, the other week, and Catherine, I think, who got up, and she has power hours. I've just started implementing that into my business, and so I have an hour for my recruitment a day, an hour for my retail a day, and an hour for my social media online, and an hour for my team. So that's 4 hours that I dedicate to forever, because I work this full time, so I dedicate that per day to my business. And then obviously I try my hardest to go out at least 2 or 3 times a week, out. So yes, we work from home, but I think you can get into the habit of, if you're at home, you're stuck behind your screen, or you're not meeting people, you're not in front of people, and not only that, you know, I get pretty distracted at home. You know, I'll stick the washer on, I'll put the kettle on, I'll make myself something to eat, I'll load the dishwasher, that sort of thing. Before I know it, you know, those 4 hours that I was dedicating to, you know, is gone. So out and about. Obviously, I've made so many friends in coffee shops, so many friends, people that have not yet, you know, necessarily joined the business, but they're at least customers for now, or, you know, they're on my Facebook, so they're watching what I do. So, yeah.
Excellent. Nat Healy, you're in the audience, and where are you? And number 1 for 2018 has a microphone in her hand. Nat, you're going to find some people for us in a second. Is there anybody in the room who has sponsored 6 or more assistant supervisors since the start of this year? Stand up if you have. Oh. Okay, Nat, have a run round, and let's see if we can... This is part of your fitness campaign.
I need to get my steps in still. Been sat on my butt.
You said you needed 10,000 steps a day. That's why we picked you. Tell us your name and tell us a little bit about where you found your people from.
My name's Nina Mekwe, and I found most of my people from my Who Do You Know list.
Okay, perfect. And how much time typically would you spend each week on recruitment or finding people?
Probably about 6.
Okay, perfect. Thank you for that.
Thank you very much.
Emma, who's been attacked by a crocodile or a shark, is down there. Which was it? Shut up. I know, shut up.
It was a shark.
Shark, I knew it. Yeah, I knew it.
It's not just a manquito.
That's what happens when you live on an island.
Yeah.
You can't
So
see.
Emma, tell us about your recruitment strategy and how you find people.
So I had stopped actively recruiting for quite a while, really. Luckily for me, I had worked really hard, so they kept coming through. You can't stop them when you build up your pipeline. But when I actively got back to it, I was terrified. And I don't like speaking to people face to face. I'd rather build my business online. But actually, I'm just tell you a little story about one of the guys up here. Say hi to everyone, Neil. This is going to kill him. Stand up. Don't pretend you don't like the limelight. Neil's 14 days into Forever. He just sponsored, as he sat here, his 4th assistant supervisor.
4 in 14 days, brilliant.
And I met Neil at an event at the NEC. We had a chat. I was trying to find the stall that sold wine, well, gave away wine for free. Had a chat with Neil, and he had a great personality. So we made friends on Facebook. I did a couple of lives that he replied to and laughed at me at. And then he said he was on holiday. So I said, what are you doing? He said, I'm watching a box set because I burnt yesterday. So I said, pause your box set now. He said, yeah, I've done that. Saying, you're going to knock my door. And then I said, watch this link. So I sent him the BP, and he just messaged me back saying, well, you best get me one of those £200 packs then, hadn't you?
Is it always as easy as that, Em?
You'll find them if the numbers are there, won't you? Because I've spoken to loads of people and they haven't joined,
Yeah.
but Neil's just one of those numbers that has. So they're there, aren't they?
Yeah, they are. Yeah, thanks for that, Emma. Front row, I think, Nat, or over there, or you choose. You're in control.
Hello.
Hello.
So my name's Christine, and I sponsored 5 people into my team in January,
Fantastic.
straight after the QLS weekend.
Fantastic.
So basically, I took everything from the QLS event, put it all into action, and yeah, that resulted in January in 5 people, and then obviously the rest
And
has
where
followed.
did you find the 5 from?
My who do you know list,
Okay,
which I
perfect.
hadn't touched since I started the business in September, and up until the January, I had only been.
It's a bit like Danielle's message then.
I'd only ever approached people that I didn't know about
Yeah.
the business, and after QLS weekend, I just thought, do you know what, I've got to do it, and yeah, all 5 came from my who do you know list.
Yeah, this is also something that you hear a lot, isn't it? That when people join your team, they don't want to talk to people they know. They want to talk to complete strangers, which is the opposite of what you would have done if you'd started a conventional business. If I opened a restaurant in Leamington Spa, before I put an advert in the paper to attract a load of strangers, I'm going to invite all my friends to the restaurant. And that's really what you demonstrated there. Thank you for that. One more, Nat, if you
Just
could.
adding to that as well, I've recruited 6 this year, and they too are all people that I know.
Perfect.
So, and I've been doing it for 13 years, but have
13
gone
years.
back, printed out all my Facebook friends, working through 5 to 10 a day, and
Perfect.
they're still there to join.
There was some stood up over there. I don't know who stood up because they can't see, or who's... Oh, there you go.
Oh, that's all right, don't worry. It's all right. Everyone just get your steps in. So all my recruits, 6 recruits this year, they've all come from my who do you know list. And the key for me has all been follow-up, so it is an 8 to a 10 week lead time.
Yeah.
And when they say no, I don't care. I just go back into the system and I keep going and going. So just, if they say no, don't worry about it. Just keep asking them.
Perfect.
Yeah.
Find
else
us
was
one more,
standing
Nat.
out? Oh,
Yeah, here we go.
I'll get my steps in now.
10,000 steps coming up.
I've sponsored 6.
Tell us your name.
I'm Amy. Hello. 6 people, majority from my who do you know list, but one was contact marketing,
Yeah.
which is very much outside my comfort zone. It definitely was. So I now have team in Durham, and I'm from Leicester. So yeah, just talk to everyone, and from that one positive result from contact marketing, it's now pushing me to do more of it. So like Emma said, they are out there, you've just got to talk to people.
So have you been up to Durham now? Because my best advice will be to get up there, do the product launch, do some one-to-ones for them, and make the time work. Because I think if you invest your time into someone at a distance, you're going to get much better results. So, yeah.
Good advice, Nat. So, you know, when we talk about some of the things we talk about...
I've got one more here, Bob.
Oh, okay, sorry. Live television, it's not easy, you know.
I should have sponsored 9 by the end of today.
9 by the end of today, well done.
Yeah. Where's the 9th one today?
My sister-in-law.
She been watching for a while?
She's been watching for a while. She's a customer, so yeah, she will start off with just using the products. Yeah, but I found most of them from a Who Do You Know list. I've been talking to a lot of them for maybe over a year, so the time just wasn't right for them. Yeah. One of them came to my first product launch 2.5 years ago, and has been a customer, not a regular customer, but she just buy products. And she's already thinking about how she can get the products into Dubai, where she's got a property, and to Spain. So there is massive potential with her. She doesn't know it yet, but there is potential. Yeah.
So some great tips there. And when you hear what's going on in the news around Brexit, when you see the trends around health and well-being, I can promise you there are going to be more and more and more people out there looking to change their lives. All we need to do is get the courage and the skill set to be out there every day, as these guys have done, speaking to people. And it won't always be a yes, sometimes it'll be a no. Detach yourself from the result and just keep building those relationships. But make sure that you do this activity, if you can, on a daily basis, because when you do something frequently, you get good at it, it becomes comfortable. Sarah, Danielle, thank you for some great tips there. Let's give it up, everybody, for our recruiters today and the great information they've given us.